They say a man's greatest strength is restraint. I learned that lesson standing under the cold fluorescence of the Cobe-Cale boardroom, with 17 pairs of eyes watching me lose everything I built. Atlas system, my creation, my code, my obsession. 17 years of architecture, predictive modeling, and power balancing, the nervous system that kept Cobe-Cale energy alive. And then there was Charles Hale, my father-in-law, the man who taught me to tie a tie, carve a Thanksgiving roast, and, apparently, how to destroy a person without raising his voice. Cobe-Cale is a rocket ship, he said, tossing my 50-page risk report into the trash, and we don't have room for anchors. His hand lingered over the paper like a priest over an offering. Then he looked at me. "Security will escort you out." I nodded. Quietly, as if I hadn't seen it coming months ago. Charles never trusted anyone who didn't grow up in a country club. I wasn't legacy, I was code. A system engineer who rose too fast, married his daughter, and started making the board listen to him instead of him. He smiled at me in meetings, but his eyes always flinched when I spoke. At home, Eleanor, my wife, said I was imagining things. "Dad loves you. He calls you the smartest guy in the room." Maybe, but smart guys make people nervous, especially the ones who see everything. It started with the audit. I'd written a report detailing a flaw in the pipeline's predictive calibration, a failure that could cause a multi-billion-dollar implosion if left unchecked. I handed it to Charles personally. 2 days later, he presented my own research to the board, stripped of warnings, dressed as innovation. He was praised for optimizing risk exposure. That night, I asked Eleanor about it. She froze. Too long. Her silence told me what her words didn't. She knew. That's when the switch flipped. Pain doesn't sharpen you. Humiliation does. And that day, I decided I wouldn't raise my voice again. I'd raise the stakes. The next 6 months were methodical. Charles thought he'd fired me from Cobe-Cale. He hadn't fired me from Atlas. Atlas wasn't just code, it was consciousness. Every node, every circuit, every predictive parameter had my digital fingerprint. What Charles didn't know was that I'd built Atlas with an adaptive kernel, a secondary protocol that learned user intent. It could read deviations, trace access, and, quietly, replicate everything. So when I left, Atlas left with me. The board thought I was gone, but every Cobe-Cale terminal was still whispering to my private server in Palo Alto. Every signature Charles made, every unauthorized transfer, every falsified risk compliance report, all of it collected, indexed, time-stamped. I didn't need revenge yet. I needed proof. When I finally saw it, the offshore accounts, the research funds rerouted through Shell subsidiaries, I almost laughed. The man who called me an anchor had been siphoning fuel from his own rocket. Eleanor, meanwhile, had filed for divorce. Smooth timing. She got the beach house, the Porsche, and joint custody of our Labrador, the one thing that actually mattered. I signed the papers with a smile, because by then I'd already started Phase 2. Atlas 2.0 was no longer just an energy system, it was a forensic one. I tweaked the interface, added visual mapping, and recoded the algorithm to interpret data like a detective. Correlations, motives, anomalies. It drew a web, and Charles was at the center of it. Then I waited for the right moment. Cobe-Cale's annual shareholder conference, live broadcast, thousands of investors. Charles, standing under the bright stage lights, rehearsed smile, silk tie. I sat in the audience, unnoticed, one of hundreds of ex-employees invited to celebrate the company's success. He began his speech, boasting about growth, innovation, resilience, the usual poison candy. That's when I opened my laptop. Atlas connected instantly. The internal data feed swapped the projection behind him, stock graphs dissolving into live audit visuals. Account transfers, transaction histories, offshore fund trails. Charles stopped mid-sentence. His voice cracked. Then, my voice filled the speakers. 17 years of integrity reduced to numbers you thought no one would notice. Every eye turned to him. He looked for Eleanor in the front row. She wasn't there. She'd left the state 2 weeks ago, subpoena in hand. Atlas kept going, displaying documents, signatures, and encrypted emails, all verified. No one moved. No one blinked. The same silence that once suffocated me now wrapped around him. I walked out before the end. Didn't need to see the handcuffs. I'd seen enough boardrooms fall apart to know what came next. That night, my phone buzzed. A message from Eleanor. "You didn't have to destroy him." I typed back, "He did that himself." Then I deleted the message before sending it. No point. Some ghosts don't deserve replies. The press called it the Atlas incident. Cobe-Cale stock plummeted 72% in a week. Charles Hale was charged with fraud, embezzlement, and negligence. Atlas was acquired independently by a rival energy firm under my name. They offered me $3.8 billion for the full architecture and rights. I took it, but not for the money, for the silence. Because silence, when earned, is louder than applause. Last week, I got a letter from Charles, from prison. He wrote, "You could have taken over the company. Why settle for revenge?" I didn't reply, because he still didn't understand. Revenge wasn't the goal, it was the correction. He taught me to play his game, power, perception, control. I just played it better. Now, every night, Atlas hums quietly in the server room of my home, a low, steady pulse of logic and memory. I sometimes watch the code scroll past, lines of light that never forget. They say success is the best revenge. They're wrong. Precision is. And tomorrow? Tomorrow's gonna be fun.